Some dressed in camo, armed with guns. Protesters and supporters of Sheriff Joe are making their voices heard right now outside of Tent City. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Christopher Sine. The group behind this protest, Interfaith Vigil. They say the conditions at Tent City where convicted criminals are housed are inhumane. ABC 15 Steve Kuj has been following this story for us all day. And Steve, I understand several more busloads of people have now showed up at your location.
They just keep on coming, Chris. Thousands of them. That's what you're hearing behind me. The voices of people who do not want to be silenced. As many as 4,000 people here, all out in front of Sheriff Joe Arpaio's infamous Tent City Jail. They want that place shut down. They say for too long the prisoners inside have had their rights violated. Sheriff Arpaio himself not afraid to shy away from any kind of a fight. He's here too somewhere in the crowd facing his critics, the thousands of them, head on. So you see the sheriff there just standing and taking what everyone had to say to him. Officials have estimated there are as many as 4,000 protesters lining the street out in front of Tent City near 31st Avenue and Buckeye. Things have been mostly peaceful. We haven't seen any arrests so far, but there are plenty of shouting matches going on between the thousands here against Sheriff Arpaio and the several dozen here to support him. The majority of the protesters are from out of state, here for a Christian religious conference. Sheriff Arpaio himself took several of the church leaders of that conference on a tour of his tent city so they could see for themselves just what it's like, and they were not happy to witness what they did.
To see something that is this degrading and mean-spirited is deeply disappointing, and I would think that the good people of Arizona would be embarrassed to have this reputation nationally and internationally.
I lived in Turkey, the Middle East, Mexico, South America. I know about those jails. Don't ever compare my jails with those countries. That's an insult that you have done.
Yeah, as you just heard there, things getting pretty intense between the sheriff and those religious leaders, although he did end by thanking them for going on his tour, as they did. Chris, the energy out here is still very strong. These people think they could go until midnight or later at this point.
Steve, looking behind you just a few minutes ago, it looked like there were some police flashing lights. What about the police presence out there? Set the scene for us about that.
Oh, we have thousands, not thousands, but thousands of protesters and more than 100 officers, many of them with riot gear. They have their shields, their helmets. Luckily, they haven't had to use any of that gear yet. Of course, they all have their pepper spray. But as I told you, things mostly peaceful. This is a religious group here, and there's been no trouble so far, no arrests to report to you at this moment.
Okay, Steve, stay on the scene there. We may be checking back in with you during this newscast. Steve Kuj reporting live for us. Thank you very much for that.
I want to show you guys something. If you come over.
And as Steve mentioned, Sheriff Joe Arpaio took members of the Interfaith Vigil and reporters behind the scenes to give us an up-close look at what life is like in the tents. He showed us the vacancy sign he put up years ago to remind everyone he will never run out of room to house inmates. He also told us the inmates are provided with air conditioning when they eat and when they bathe. Afterwards, he gave everyone the opportunity to try some of the food they serve in jail. Some reporters ended up taking him up on that offer. And we will continue to cover this story.